Torah Life Ministries, come out of the world.
Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. We're going to be reading the Torah portion today, and the Torah portion for this day is Genesis 41:1 to 44:17. So we're not going to be doing a teaching. There's other teachings on the channel about this Torah reading, but we're going to read the Torah reading for this day right now. And if you could read along with me, it's a mitzvah to read the Torah every Shabbat and to read it every week and to discuss it. So here we go. Genesis 41 to Genesis 44:17. And it happened at the end of 2 years of days, Pharaoh was dreaming, and lo, he was standing by a river. And behold, 7 cows were going up from the river, beautiful of appearance and fat of flesh, and they were eating. And behold, 7 other cows were going up after them from the river, evil of appearance and lean of flesh, and they were standing beside the cows on the lip of the river. And the evil appearing and lean-fleshed cows were eating the 7 cows of beauty and the fat appearance, and Pharaoh awoke. And he slept and dreamed a second time, and behold, 7 ears of grain were coming up, on one stalk, fat and good. And behold, 7 ears of grain, being lean and blasted by the east wind, sprouting forth after them. And the 7 lean ears were swallowing the 7 fat and full ears. And Pharaoh awakened, and behold, it was a dream. And it happened in the morning, his spirit was troubled. And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt, and all its wise men. And Pharaoh told them his dream, and there was no interpreter of them to Pharaoh. And the chief of the cupbearers spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I mentioned my sin today. Pharaoh was angry against his servants, and gave me into custody in the house of the chief of the executioners, me and the chief of the bakers. And we dreamed a dream in one night, and he and I, we each dreamed according to the interpretation of his dream. And a Hebrew youth was with us, a slave to the chief of the executioners. And we told him, and he interpreted our dreams to us. He interpreted to each according to his dream. And it happened as he had interpreted to us, so it was. He returned me to my position, and he hanged him. And Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they rushed him from the dungeon. And he shaved and changed his clothes, and came in to Pharaoh. Verse 15. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is no one to interpret it. And I have heard about you, saying you hear a dream to interpret it. And Joseph replied to Pharaoh, saying, Not I. Elohim will answer the peace of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream I was standing on the lip of the river, and behold, 7 cows were going up from the river, fat of flesh and beautiful of form. And they were feeding the reeds. And behold, 7 other cows were going up after them, poor and very evil of form, and lean of flesh. I have not seen any like them in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the cows, the lean and the evil, ate the first 7 fat cows. And they went into the stomachs, and could not be seen that they had gone into the stomachs. And their appearance was evil, and at the beginning, and I awakened. And I looked in my dream, and behold, 7 ears of grain were coming up on the stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, lean, blasted by the east wind, sprouting forth after them. And the lean ears were swallowing up the 7 good ears. And I spoke to the magicians, but not one is making known the meaning to me. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. Elohim has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows, they are 7 years, and the 7 good ears, they are 7 years. The dream is one, Echad. And the 7 thin and evil appearing cows going up after them, they are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted by the east wind will be 7 years of famine. This is the word that I spoke to Pharaoh. What Elohim is about to do, he has made Pharaoh see. Behold, 7 years of great plenty are coming in all the land of Egypt, and 7 years of famine will arise after them, and all the plenty of the land of Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will consume the land. And the plenty in the land will not be remembered because of the famine afterwards, for it will be very severe. We're up to verse 32. And as the dream being repeated to Pharaoh twice, the thing is settled because it is from Elohim, and Elohim has hastened to do it. And now let Pharaoh look for a man who is intelligent and wise, and set him over all the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh act, and let him appoint rulers over the land, and take a fifth of the land of Egypt in the 7 years of plenty. And let them gather all the food of these coming good years, and let them heap the grain under Pharaoh's hand as food in the cities, and let them keep it. And let the food be for store for the land for 7 years of famine, which will be in the land of Egypt, and let not the land be cut off by famine. And the word was good in Pharaoh's eyes, and the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, Can we find a man like this, in which whom the spirit of Elohim is in? And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Since Elohim has taught you all this, there is no one wise and intelligent like you. You shall be over my house, and at your mouth shall be ordered all my people. Only in respect to the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Behold, I have set you over the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it on the hand of Joseph. And he clothed him in fine linen robes, and put a golden chain on his neck. And he caused him to ride on a chariot which was the second to him. And they cried before him, Bow the knee, and put him over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without a word from you, not a man shall lift his hand or his foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph by the name of Teshephaneth Pinah, and he gave him Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, for a wife. And Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. And Joseph was the son of 30 years, as he stood before Pharaoh king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the face of Pharaoh and passed over in the land of Egypt. And the land produced by handfuls in the 7 years of plenty. And he gathered all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and he put food in the cities. The food of the field which is around each city he put in among it. And Joseph heaped up grain like the sand of the sea, exceedingly much, until he ceased to count it, because it was without number. And 2 sons were born to Joseph before the year of famine came, in whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore of him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for Elohim has made me forget all the toil, and all the house of my father. And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for Ephraim has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the 7 years of plenty which were in the land of Egypt ended, and the 7 years of famine began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the famine was in all the lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And all the land of Egypt hungered, and the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said to all Egypt, Go to Joseph, what he says to you do. And the famine was on the face of the land, and Joseph opened all which was in them, and sold it to the Egyptians. And the famine was strong in the land of Egypt. And all the earth came to Egypt to buy to Joseph, for the famine was strong in all the earth. All right, that was chapter 41. I'm going to read chapter 42 now. And Jacob saw that grain was in Egypt, and Jacob said to his sons, Why do you look at each other? And he said, Behold, I have heard grain is in Egypt. Go down there to buy us from there, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. And Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with his brothers, for he said, Least harm happen to him. And among those coming, the sons of Israel came to buy, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was governor over the land, the one selling to all the people of the earth. And Joseph's brothers came in and bowed to him face down to the earth. And Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he remained a stranger to them and spoke harsh things to them, and said to them, From where have you come? And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them. And he said to them, You are spies. You have come to see the bareness of the land. And they said to him, No, my master, but your servants have come to buy food. We are all of us sons of one man. We are honest, your servants are not spies. Verse 12. And he said to them, No, but you have come to see the bareness of the land. And they said, Your servants are 12 brothers. We are the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And lo, the youngest is with our father today, and one is not. And Joseph said to them, This is that which I have spoken to you, saying you are spies. By this you shall be tested. And as Pharaoh lives, you shall not go out from here except your younger brother come in here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother, and you be bound, and let your words be proven, whether truth is with you. And if not, as Pharaoh lives, surely you are spies. And he gathered them into custody 3 days. And on the 3rd day Joseph said to them, Do this and live. I fear Elohim. If you are honest, let one of your brothers be bound in your prison house, and you go to bring grain for the famine of your houses. And bring your youngest brother to me, and let your words be true, and you shall not die. And so they did. And they said each to his brother, We are truly guilty because of our brother, whom we saw in distress of the soul, when he begged us, and we did not hear. So this distress has come to us. Verse 22. And Reuben replied then, saying, Did I not speak to you, saying, Do not sin against the youth? And you did not listen. And behold, his blood is also required. And they did not know that Joseph heard, for the interpreter was between them. And he turned away from them and wept, and returned them and spoke to them. And he took Simon from them, and bound him before their eyes. And Joseph commanded and said, They filled their vessels with grain, and returned their silver, each into his sack, and gave to them food for the way. And he did so with them. And they lifted up their grain on their donkeys, and walked from there. And one opened his sack to give fodder to his donkeys in the camp, and he saw his silver, and behold, it was in the mouth of his sack. And he said to his brothers, My silver has been put back, and also look at my sack. And their hearts went out, and they were each terrified, saying to his brother, What is this Elohim has done to us? And they came to their father Jacob to the land of Canaan, and they told him all that met them, saying, the master of the land, spoke harsh things to us, and considered us spies in the land. And we said to him, we are honest, we are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father, and one is not. And the youngest is with us, with our father today. The youngest is with our father today. And the Lord of the land, said to us, by this I shall know that you are honest. Leave one brother with me, and take and go for the famine of your house, and bring your youngest brother to me, and I may know that you are not spies, but you are honest. I will give your brother to you, and you may trade in the land. And it happened, they were emptying their sacks, and behold, each one's handle or bundle of silver was in his sack. And they saw the bundles in their silver, and they were afraid. And their father Jacob said to them, you have bereaved me. Joseph is not, and Simon is not, and you will take Benjamin? All of these are against me. And Reuben spoke to his father, saying, you may kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him to you. Give him into my hand, and I will return him to you. And he said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left. And if harm should happen to him in the way in which you go, you would bring down my gray hair in sorrow to the grave. That was the end of chapter 42. Now we're going to read Genesis chapter 43. Genesis 43. And the famine was severe in the land, and it happened, when they had finished eating the grain which they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, go back and buy a little food for us. And Judah spoke to him, saying, the man fiercely repeated and gave warning, saying to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. And if you are sending our brother with us, we will go down and buy food for you. And if you are not sending, we will not go, for the man said to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. And Israel said, why did you do evil to me to tell the man you still had a brother? And they said, the man keenly asked about us and about our kindred, saying, is your father still alive? Is there a brother to you? And we said to him on the mouth of these words, could we know certainly that he would say, bring down your brother? And Judah said to his father Israel, send the youth with me, and let us rise up and go, and we may live and not die, both we and you and our little ones. I will be shortly for him. You may require him from my hand. If I do not bring him to you and set him before you, I will be a sinner against you in all the days. If we had not delayed, only now we would have returned this twice. And their father Israel said to them, if it be so, then do this. Take from the produce of the land in your vessels, and bring down the present to the man with a little balm, and a little honey, spices, and myrrh, nuts and almonds. And take the double the silver in your hand, and the silver that you put back in your mouth of your sacks, and take it back in your hand. Perhaps it was an oversight. And they said, and take your brother and rise up and return to the man. And may Elohim Almighty give mercy to you before the man, and may he send your other brother to you and Benjamin. If I am bereaved, I am bereaved. Verse 15. And the man took this present, Well, the men took this present, and they took double silver in their hand and Benjamin. And they rose up and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. And Joseph saw Benjamin with them. And he said to the one over his house, Bring the man into the house, and slaughter and prepare an animal, for the men shall eat with me at noon. And the men did as Joseph said, and the men brought the men into Joseph's house. The man brought the men into Joseph's house. Verse 18. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, Because of the silver that was returned in our sacks before we are being brought in, to throw himself on us and fall on us and take us and our donkey for slaves. And they finally came near to the man who was over Joseph's house and spoke to him at the doors of the house. And they said, O my master, surely we came before to buy food, and it happened when we came to the camp and opened our sacks, behold, the silver of each was in the mouth of the sacks, out of silver and its weight, and we bring it back to our land. And we bring it back in our hand. Verse 3. That was verse 21. And we bring it back in our hand. Verse 22. And we have brought other silver in the hand to buy food. We do not know who put our silver in our sacks. And he said, Peace to you, do not fear. Your Elohim and the Elo of your father has given a treasure to you in your sacks. Your silver came to me, and I brought Samson out to them. I brought Simon out to them. Sorry. That's verse 23. Yeshua came to me, and I brought Simon out to them. And the man led the men to Joseph's house, and he gave water, and they washed their feet, and he gave fodder to their donkeys. And they prepared the present for the coming of Joseph at noon, for they had heard that they would eat bread there. And Joseph came into the house, and they brought the present in their hand to him into the house, and they bowed to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, Is there peace to your father, the old man, of whom you spoke? Is he still alive? And they said, Peace is to your servant, to our father. He is still alive. And they fell down and bowed. And he raised his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, the son of his mother. And he said, Is this your youngest brother, whom you spoke to me? And he said, May Elohim favor you, my son. And Joseph hurried, for his emotions were deeply moved towards his brother. And he sought a place to weep. And he came into the inner room and wept there. And he washed his face and controlled himself and went out and said, Set out bread. And they set out for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians eating with them by themselves, and for the Egyptians eating with him by themselves. For the Egyptians cannot eat bread with the Hebrews, for it is an abomination in Egypt. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright. And the younger according to his birthright. And the men were astonished, each to his neighbor. And one carried portions from before him to them. And Benjamin's portion was greater than the portion of all the other 5 times as much. And they drank and were drunken with him. Now we're up to verse 44. All right. And he commanded the one over his house, saying, Fill the sacks of the men with food, as much as they are able to carry, and put the silver of each one in the mouth of his sack. and put my cup, the cup of silver, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, and the silver for his grain. And he did according to Joseph's words, that which he spoke. And at the morning light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys. They had gone out from the city, not having gone far. And Joseph said to one over his house, Rise up and pursue them. Why have you repaid evil for good? Verse 5. Is this not that in which my master usually drinks in? And surely he divines by it? You have done evil in which you have done. And he overtook them and spoke these words to them. And they said to him, Why should my master speak according to these words? For be it from your servants to do anything to this word. See, the silver which we found in the mouth of our sack we return to you from the land of Canaan. And how should we steal silver or gold from the house of your master? With whomever it may be found, with him of your servants he shall die, and we also will become slaves to my Lord. We're up to verse 10. And he said, Now let it be, according to your words. With whomever it is found with him, he shall become a slave to me, and you shall be innocent. And they hurried, and each one brought down the sack to the earth, and each one opened his sack. And he searched with the oldest first, and with the youngest last. And the cup was found in the sack of Benjamin. And they tore their clothes, and they each one loaded his donkey, and returned to the city. And Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, and he was still there, and they fell before him to the earth. And Joseph said to them, What is this deed which you have done? Did you not know that a man like me would practice divination? And Judah said, What can we say, my master? What can we speak? And in what can we justify ourselves? Elohim has found out the iniquity of your servants. Behold, we are slaves to my master, both we and he in whose hand the cup was found. And he said, For be it from me to do this. The man in whose hand the cup was found, he shall become a slave to me. And you go up in peace to your father. So this is the end of 44, chapter 17. Next week's Torah is 44, starting in verse 18, going to 47:27. So that was the Torah reading for this Shabbat. I hope you all read it. And whatever questions you might have, you can post them below or look at other teachings I've done on previous years on this topic. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a blessed day and Shabbat Shalom.
Torah Life Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.